Dr. Thomas Martin, OK Bouwsma Professor of Philosophy, is today's keynote speaker. To many here today, Tom needs no introduction. He served as a very distinguished faculty member here in this institution since 1986. He attended high school in Ecuador, Peru, and Paraguay. He earned his baccalaureate degree at Northern Arizona University and his Master of Arts and PhD from the University of Missouri, Columbia. During his tenure at UNK, Dr. Martin has taught a variety of courses in the realm of ethics, logic, philosophy of art, of religion and literature, and the mind, modern philosophy, and social and political ethics. His areas of specialization include ethics, philosophy and literature, and political philosophy. G.K. Chesterton, Solzhenitsyn, and Dostoevsky. Dostoevsky, I got it. Watch those shows too. He was awarded the Outstanding Professor of the Year by the UNK Honors Program. He publishes essays in Gilbert, the New Oxford Review, St. Austin Review, and the St. Croix. He's presented numerous papers at national conferences all over the United States. As a former chairman of the philosophy program during the transition from Kearney State College to the University of Nebraska at Kearney, he's held numerous faculty leadership and advisory positions. He has served on the Kearney Catholic High School Board of Education, including 2 terms as their president. He's more. His colleagues know him, and I say this as an intellectual, as a champion of truth and ethics, as one who encourages deeper thought and occasionally sparks controversy. One who isn't afraid to speak his mind, and is the editor of the Examined Life, one who isn't afraid to publish his opinions. Every campus is richer if they have a Tom Martin. Every student should have Tom Martin as a professor. Chesterton would be very, very proud of him. The title of Dr. Martin's address this morning is Know Thyself. It's my honor and privilege to welcome him to the podium, Dr. Tom Martin.
Morning. Before I give my talk, I would like to thank Chancellor Christensen for inviting me to speak to you, the graduates of the University of Nebraska at Kearney, your guests, members of the faculty, and other honors guests. I am proud to be the third of 4 generations of Martins to teach in the state of Nebraska. Gertrude Wade Martin, my grandmother, was born on a homestead south of Battle Creek, Nebraska in 1880 and taught in Meadow Grove, Nebraska, in a 1-room schoolhouse. My father, Robert, graduated from Kearney State Teachers College exactly 80 years ago. I now teach in Thomas Hall, where my father taught his first classes in what used to be the campus lab school to train teachers. I can still feel his presence when I walk into the classrooms. My daughter Rachel continues the Martin tradition as a high school English teacher at Columbus High School in Columbus, Nebraska. At a recent wedding for my nephew, Grace Rose, my 3-year-old granddaughter, walked straight up to my mother, whom she'd never met before, looked her in the eye and said, "Who you, why you here?" Lo and behold, Grace Rose is a philosopher. She has a sense of wonder and a desire to know. In fact, if I didn't know better, I would have thought she'd been reading Aristotle and Thales. The first sentence of Aristotle's Metaphysics acknowledges all men by nature desire to know. Thales, whom Aristotle dubbed the first philosopher in ancient Greece, was asked 2 questions. What is the easiest thing to do, and what is the hardest thing to do? The easiest thing to do is to give advice to another, and the hardest thing to do is to know thyself. Grace's questions from the mouths of babes are a testimony to man's ancient desire to know who we are and what we are doing here. so we can know our purpose and have a meaningful life. As Grace matures, her questions must become like every man's questions, and especially yours who are here today. Who am I, and what am I doing here? If any of us is ever to fulfill ourselves as adults with a sense of purpose in our lives. How am I to know myself? For a university graduate, there is no better time than the present moment to address Thyself's maxim, know thyself, as you enter your new life as a university graduate. Now you have two eyes, and I'm not talking about the eyes I'm looking at. You have an external eye, which looks out of your soul on a world of chronological events streaming before you. This is your quantifiable eye, the scientific eye, which measures everything by size, shape, color, speed, and quantity. The second eye is the internal eye, the eye of the heart, looking deep in your soul, which houses memory and self-examination and is anchored by a conscience and moral judgment necessary to examine your own life. While Ptolemy was obviously wrong to assume the earth was the center of the universe, each one of you is the center of your universe. When you look out through the windows of your soul, you draw a bead, which begins with you and ends on the horizon, upon whichever fixed point you are looking. My granddaughter, Grace Rose, drew a bead, a line, on her great-grandmother Anna when she asked, "Who you? Why you here?" While there are no fixed points in the universe, you are the creator of fixed points of any line that can be drawn. For example, your proud parents at this moment have drawn a bead right on you. There are no points in the universe from which to measure that do not begin in a living soul. Man is the one who connects the stars into constellations and made it possible to navigate the oceans, to find the line between his ship and home in the dark of night. Which reminds me of a story from Plato's Republic. There was once an owner of a ship who was hard of hearing, nearsighted, and lacked the knowledge of seafaring necessary to captain his ship. His sailors were quarreling with one another about steering the ship, each of them thinking that he should be the captain, even though he'd never learned the art of navigation, could not point to anyone who taught him or a time when he had learned it. In fact, they claimed it could not be taught and cut to pieces anyone who said it could. The sailors all crowded around the ship owner, begging him and doing whatever possible to get him to turn over the rudder to them. They proceeded to rule the ship as though it were a cruise ship. They hired Jimmy Buffett to play Margaritaville and set the sailing whichever way the breeze carried them as they danced into the night. They called the clever person who persuaded the ship owner to let them rule the ship. They dismissed anyone with the knowledge of constellations or navigational skills as useless. The sailors did not understand that a captain must pay attention to the year, the sky, the stars, the winds, and all that pertains to his craft if he's really to captain a ship. They did not believe that there was any knowledge that would enable them to steer the ship. In fact, they would think of the man standing at the bow looking at the stars with a sextant and advising them on how to chart their course of the ship as a babbling stargazer who looks into the dark of night for direction. Socrates used this story to depict the people of Athens, or any nation for that matter, who are in need of a leader to set the course of their lives. The sailors, like politicians, are eager to rule and promise the people whatever will satisfy their desires at the moment. The sailors do not trust anyone who thinks there's an art to being a human being, or that a person must order his life by moral laws that are fixed, like the North Star for the stargazer who could captain the ship. As university graduates, you have the potential to be stargazers. We are in rough seas without a compass. The crew of sailors represents all our physical desires, clamoring to be heard, tasted, smelled, and enjoyed. Will you go with the momentary breeze and follow your appetites that are constantly changing, following whatever is fashionable or politically correct at the moment? Like with the sailors, will you call those who disagree with your chosen desires bigoted and narrow-minded because you know what feels good is good? In your quest to know yourself, a university graduate knows better than to turn his soul over to sailors who are going to end up crashing on the rocks. You and I are actors in a play. Shakespeare echoed Aristotle when he said that the whole world is a stage. As actors, we have been assigned a part to play, and by playing this part, we come to know ourselves. At every moment, we can play our part well, or we can play our part poorly. Aristotle referred to humans as animals with a rational principle. You are a living soul, and you are endowed with the faculty of reason which is governed by principles. While you may be moved by emotions, instincts, feelings of pain and pleasure, these are not governing principles. You were born upside down, head first as a girl or a boy, and you are meant to stand upright and become your better self as a lady or a gentleman. In order to play the part well, you need to practice your lines to develop a moral character. Your character given name was selected by your parents. I am Thomas, which is coupled with a surname. I am a Martin. Your first name is uniquely you, and your last name is your lineage. This puts you on a line between your ancestors and your progeny. Tradition is our skin. We do not choose our parents, our nationality, our sex, our race, our ethnicity, or the century in which we were born, the context of our lives, the stage on which we are expected to act. We are woven bodily to the earth and spiritually to our parents in our quest to find out who we are. Our parents are our first teachers, our lifelines, entrusted with setting the tension for the formation of a virtuous life that is essential for becoming a lady or a gentleman. Being virtuous requires having your string pulled. Good parents are the first to pull a child's string, offering guidelines by teaching him to stand up straight, say please and thank you, be kind to others, and take pride in himself. A university graduate has been raised to be a stargazer who has set his compass on universal truths that are not moved by fashion, fads, at the good of the expense of his fellow citizens. You are called today to set your course using tested lines from previous captains that have always held true for university graduates. Here are some lines from Marcus Aurelius, who is in line with Thales, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Speak both to the powerful and to every man, whoever he may be, appropriately and without affectation. Use plain language. Receive wealth or prosperity without arrogance, and be ready to let it go. Order your life well in every act. Behave justly to those who are around you. Be diligent over your thoughts so that nothing should steal into them without being well examined. Every moment focus steadily on doing the task at hand with perfect and simple dignity and with the feeling of affection and freedom and justice. Put away hypocrisy. Put away self-love and discontent with your portion in life. We are made for cooperation, and to act against one another is contrary to nature. Accept correction gladly. Teach without anger. Keep yourself simple, good, pure, serious, a friend of justice, kind, affectionate, and strenuous in all your acts. Be a living thing, because in the words of G.K. Chesterton, a dead thing can go with a stream, but only a living thing can go against it. Finally, I must return to my Irish grandmother, Gertrude Wade Martin, the oldest Martin in my remembered line of ancestors, and say what she would say if she were standing here today. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your field. And until we meet again, May God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you.